So see, I think as creators, we would agree that our shelf life is very short. So one reason of moving to Bangalore is also to diversify my income streams and generate more revenue streams and income streams for me so that I can elongate my journey as a creator.
आज के एडिशन ऑफ मनी टॉक्स में मेरी गेस्ट हैं अनुष्का राठौड़, who I just got to know has moved from Surat to Bangalore. Are you okay sharing that publicly?
Yes, definitely.
Awesome. Welcome, Anushka, to the conversation. It's so awesome to have you. And I've been, of course, following you for a long while. And we've had a conversation before as well. And I've always been impressed by how you took your content journey during the last 2.5 years to heights that perhaps you also didn't imagine it would reach. We all have been so pleasantly surprised by our journeys. So I wanted to get you onto the conversation and thank you for joining us.
Thanks a lot for having me, Ankur. You're one of my mentors and inspiration in the content space, definitely. How you've just built a team, built an empire, built a brand name. It's commendable.
Thank you so much. Thanks for your kind words.
I'm a content creator myself. I know it looks easy from the outside, but it's not that easy. There's hard work that goes into it.
There is. And that's why my team, because I couldn't have done it on my own. So I have tremendous respect for people who started solo and did it for so long. So the admiration is absolutely mutual. Thank you. I will start, Anushka, with my question that I start with everybody. And that is, how was it growing up for you? You grew up in Surat. And I wanted to know, did you grow up with money? Did you grow up without money? And how did that shape up your relationship in your early years with money?
Right. So I grew up pretty comfortably. I never had financial problems. Like my parents never had financial problems. But I grew up with a very interesting set of parents. My mom, उनका ना हिंदी में बोलते खुला हाथ है उनका बहुत. She likes to spend a lot. She likes to enjoy life. So whatever she is a retired teacher. So whatever she used to earn, she hardly saved. She would spend all of it making jewelry, buying stuff for herself, for her children, for everyone else in the world. But at the other end is my dad, who would not even buy cream biscuits because they were relatively more expensive. So I think growing up, it was always, like whenever we wanted something, we go to mom would always give it to us. But then dad was always there to keep a check and ensure that we have the disciplines. And I would say that both me, I have a younger sister as well, both of us have been so heavily influenced by our dad that we've taken more on his we could say almost borderline miser than my mother's affluent spending. And especially after you start earning and you see how difficult it is to earn. I think I know where my dad was coming from, and I don't know where my mom got the heart to spend.
It's fascinating that you had this duality exist. So, कभी confusion होती थी early on कि क्या सही है, क्या गलत है, or were you able to figure what was right, what was wrong because it made sense to you?
I think coming from a business family, so we have a joint family business. I think my mom was an exception because everyone from my grandfather, grandmother, uncle, auntie, all of them, they had this thing of saving first, investing a lot, and living below our means. So yeah, kabhi confusion nahi hua tha. From day one, we've been told to save first, and also because it's a business, right? So in business, 2-3 years you earn, 1-2 years you don't earn, again you earn. So it was always a thing that we never knew how much our parents earned. Probably even they did not knew. They only took out this fixed amount from whatever they were earning, which was way less than what they were earning. For the daily expenses, for the household expenses, and rest everything was saved because the future was uncertain.
So was it clear to you, Anushka, because you came from a business background, your family background was from the business arena as well, that that's what you would end up doing? Or actually, let me ask you a different question, because I've always been intrigued about that. I didn't come from a business family, and मेरे दूर तक किसी खानदान ने कभी business नहीं किया था. किया भी है तो नहीं हुआ. So conversations around money were always a taboo. They were like कि जो लोग पैसे के बारे में बात करते हैं, वो लोग खोखले हैं. So I'm always fascinated, what was he on the other side? Because there's clearly this business family arena where kids are taught about money from a young age, taught about business from a young age. There is their DNA that's working in there. So tell me about that. What were the kind of conversations around money growing up, or was it all observation?
So I was very close to my grandfather. My grandfather used to pick me up from my home, and so we used to live in a joint family, and we were very close. But then when I grew up a little in sixth, seventh standard, my parents moved out. So my grandfather used to pick me up from my home and drop me to my tuition classes, and that was the time we used to spend together. And we are like 11 cousins, and I was like the first girl, so he had like special affection for me also. So my grandfather was actually a construction worker in his teenage years, and he built an empire for himself. And even during his 60s, he passed away very early, I would say. But even during his 60s, when he was not very well, he would work 24/7. He was super active. He was super entrepreneurial. There was like from a construction workers, there's a point he was doing crores in donation. Uh, so that was his journey. And he would always push all of us to work hard, to earn a lot. And my grandfather is like a true businessman. मतलब पक्का धंधा करना आता है उनको. So from day one, he's taught us that money is important, earning is important, saving is important. All our dinner table conversations would be about the progress we made in our education, what we want to do. So for me, at least and all my cousins, these conversations were very normal because that's all we heard. And we were never excluded from it. And I'm really glad that I had my grandfather, because even though I was a girl, he never excluded me from the conversation, which I'm really thankful for, because any other grandfather in my society would not have done the same.
Wow, that's commendable. That is like one admirable key. Even as kids, you were included in, and ऐसा नहीं था कि नहीं ये सिर्फ बड़ों की बातें हैं, बच्चे क्या करेंगे इसमें. And then of course the gender sensitivity that is still prevalent in a large part of our country. Wonderful. So that explains a lot for
actually. So my mom's a teacher, right? So my grandfather was like, क्या इतने छोटे पे करो, थोड़ा इन्वेस्टमेंट करके स्कूल खोलते, थोड़ा ज्यादा कमाते, एफर्ट तुम ऐसे ही मारो, थोड़ा और करो. But I think my mom somewhere didn't want the responsibilities, so that's why she didn't go ahead with it. And yeah, he's my, I would say, like one person who I admire the most and want to be like.
I can totally relate to that and understand why that would be the case. Wonderful. And did your, like, if I were to speak to your younger sister, would she say the same things? Did she also have that same kind of influence around her as you did?
So my sister's 19. She's already joined a family business. She started a retail arm of exporting, is handling everything from marketing, sales, even accounting. Like वो हम बोलते क्या बोलते हैं, चलान बनाना, export receipts को sign करना, account से forex लेना, everything she does on her own. She like there was a point where she was earning more than me also, when the textile market was doing very good. I think in us it is ingrained. Like it's always so we were meant to do this.
That is so awesome. I love that already.
And she has a science background. She didn't even do commerce. So everything she's learned on the go with college.
Exactly. You don't need education if your entire upbringing is a school. Right? That then just explodes. That's so brilliant. So while growing up, what did you think of money? Did you think of money as ज़रूरत है, अच्छा है, बहुत ज़रूरी है, बहुत होना चाहिए? Like, what was your sentiment around money?
I would say because of our upbringing, it is almost like this is making money is a purpose of life. So, running a business, finding something to do and making money out of that is something that we've been taught is like a very major purpose. There's a big purpose of life. And having something that you are doing on your own, a business of your own, it essentially translates into, like having a job is it's a part of your identity, but having a business is your identity. And from day one, we've been taught that you have to scale it, you have to grow it, you have to do things on your own, you have to be independent, you have to be enterprising, and you need to earn, because at the end of the day, money is a necessity and not even luxury. You need to have money basically. So it was, I would say that aspiration to earn a lot of money was always there from day one.
Awesome. When did you start earning money?
Properly started earning during my internships when I was in my first year of college.
And when you did start earning formally, let's say through your internships, was that a point of financial independence for you where you started taking care of your own needs, or when did that happen?
Yeah, I think I've been supporting myself since I was 19. Like, I've not taken money from home. And also that's because of the fact that even though we were comfortable growing up, my father has always, so my father, like he runs a very successful business, Touchwood, but he still, when he goes to Mumbai, he takes a local train. He will always, find the cheapest alternative available for everything. Like if he were in Bangalore, he would only use Rapido bikes because that's the cheapest and the most efficient form of transportation. So I've always learned that from my parents, my father actually, to live below our means. And even when I was earning just 16,000, I was able to live with that money. And I generally like don't spend a lot on food, on clothes. Now I do a little because I have the room, but initially I would not. So yeah, I was supporting myself. A few high ticket expenditures. So when we had family functions and we needed to buy Indian traditional clothes and all. So that of course my parents did support me there. For vacations and all, my parents did pay. But my day to day expenditure, I was taking care of it by I was 19, and I think by the time I was 22, I completely took over all my expenditure.
Wow, that is incredible. So for 5 years, you've been supporting yourself, and since 22, you're like completely by yourself to the extent.
And now I buy my parents gifts and send them.
Exactly.
And you've moved to Bangalore. You're paying for yourself. You have a nice fancy apartment and everything. So I'm so happy for you. This is incredible. How did the idea of creating content come up in the first place?
So it's very interesting. Before 2020, so March 2020 is when the lockdown happened, right? And just before that, I had packed everything up in India because in April, I had my CFA exams, like April, May. And just after that, I was supposed to move to the US to Duke Universities for my master's. But in between March 2020 happened and the lockdown happened and all my plans were on pause. And I had just wrapped up my life in India because I was going out. So it was like, what do I do now? And that time it was not sure what is going to happen. Is the lockdown going to be only for a month, for 10 years? No one knew what's going to happen. So I guess initially for the first few months, I was just reading. Doing courses here and there and exploring what I want to do and making a lot of lifestyle content because I always love being in front of the camera, taking pictures, taking videos. So I was doing that. And then so what happened was then, everything was shifted 6 months late to October, November. So I was like, okay, 6 months, extended summer vacation, enjoy. October, November came, things shifted again for 6 months. And that time, no one was hiring for my skills in finance. No one was hiring. The company that I was working for was willing to take me, but the deal flow was completely off. And I was of the opinion that I would go leave for my masters after 6 months eventually. But so that time I decided to make these videos on businesses. So I would generally also read a lot, and a lot of my friends would ask me these questions. And because we had just graduated, a lot of my friends started working also. So they were getting their salary slips and they were asking, what is this? How did this work? So I generally thought that, like I have wonderful friends who've gone to IIT Bombay, who graduated from US, but they don't know these basic things. And it's not their fault because no one taught them that. So I started making these videos where I would just take the phone, record it and upload it. Nothing, no editing, nothing. I would just be talking to the camera. And within 15 days of making finance content or business content, I got a viral video. So that got me hooked. That made me wanted to improve more, try more things. And I set a target for myself that, I started in like October 2020, properly doing finance and business content. By December, if I would have 10,000 followers, I would consider this more properly because I loved making those videos and I felt there was an empty space, especially in the short form content. I think within 15 days, I reached 25,000. So yeah, I just got really invested in that. Then comes another 6 months. I'm almost at 100K, 125K. And I was thinking of going to the US also that time. But they were taking people from all around the world, but not India because of the second wave here. So I think, yeah, that way the decision I didn't have to only make. The universe took it from me. And I got into this even more aggressively. And that's how I grew from there.
That is fantastic. That is so fantastic. No, your story reminded me of this conversation I was having with myself. We often ask somebody, let's say God, for our prayers to be answered. But where would we be if all our prayers had been answered so far? So I'm certain that at some point of time, you'd be like, oh shit, I hope this lockdown gets over very fast. I hope I'm there in the US, or I have this happens and so on. And we don't know where we would be if all our prayers would have been answered the way that we thought they would, because there's always a blessing in disguise in the ways or incidents that shake us up. So I'm so glad in some way, because US's loss is India's gain, and there is an entire generation out there to thank you for all the help that you've extended so far.
I use this line, my detour became my destiny.
Lovely. Lovely. I am going to use this line and, of course, give you the credit.
The detour became your destiny.
I didn't write this. I read it somewhere, but yeah, it just fits.
Comes from Anushka. Now it is. Have you always been comfortable in front of the camera?
Yeah, so I used to do a lot of, so my grandfather again, he's a public speaker, like weddings, charity functions, everything. He would go on the stage and start talking. And I was very active in debate, very active in extempore, MUNs. I have a record of winning every single MUN that I've attended, except the first one that I did. So yeah.
That is awesome. I love that. So it was largely the research and the presentation and getting comfortable with the media and the platform that you improvised on. Because I think you would be one of the early adopters of Instagram Reels. Like you really rode that wave better than most others, while
some people took the time to respond to it.
I was the first one. Like I conceptualized this in India. Everyone else started after me.
And it's very, very hard, because at that time it was like, 30 seconds? It wasn't even 60.
So 15 is when we started, right? 15 seconds.
15?
Yeah.
What did you used to say in 15 seconds?
So I used to make these food for thought things. So Facebook, actually, this was our first video. Facebook said that it was not the monopoly in one of the court sessions or some press release, because they were competing for people's time. And because they were competing for people's time, they did not have a majority attention there. And they were not comparing themselves against other social media platforms. I thought it was very interesting. And then there were all these cases, all these facts about Indian companies like Reliance, the Adanis, Ambanis, Tatas, and the foreign companies with the likes of Starbucks, McDonald's, Burger King. So I was making a lot of content around these. Food for thought, 15 seconds, I come, I go.
And at what point of time did you begin to smell money in this?
So I think I started in October, and December is when I got my first, inbound offer to do something. And I'd already reached like some, I would say 25 to 50,000, somewhere in between that. So they were asking me something, and I thought, you know what? Let me just quote an absurd number. What will happen at the most? They're going to say no. I'll negotiate back. I'll tell them, okay, what's something that you're comfortable with? I quoted an absurd number, which I never thought they would agree to, and they agreed. And the next time I got something, I quoted an even absurd number, and even that got accepted. So then, after like 2-3 more deals, I started talking to people in this industry and I asked how much I could quote. And I was like, oh my God, okay. I didn't know this could happen. So yeah, and then I met my manager, and he structurized the entire thing for me. And so that is how I smelled the money. But I do feel that it's also that I got really lucky that within just 15 days, I got a viral video, and I could make enough out of this to invest back, to improve, and to even consider doing this. A lot of people don't get that break for like years at stretch. And also our time in the limelight is like 3 to 5 years at the most. Yeah. So yeah, it's like a actor's life, but even shorter.
Yeah, I so get that. And when you started making this money, were you You were clearly surprised, especially at how easily people were accepting it. Did you share it with your parents? What were their reactions?
Yeah, so I think for the longest time, my parents never said it to me on my face. But yeah, they were like baffled. Like, what is this girl doing? She spent a year giving her GRE, preparing for her masters. Doing all these internships, all these social activities to improve her resume. Got into the university that she wanted to. I got a scholarship as well, and now she's like sitting in front of the camera making video, asking the entire house to like shut up because the camera records that. So yeah, they were very baffled, and I think they always used to themselves that she can always 6 months later she'll go for a master's. 6 months later she'll go for a master's, or she has a CFA. Her CFA exams are getting postponed, so she'll do that. I think my parents have given me a lot of space in general, but I don't think even today, like if I were to ask them, they would say, yeah, go to your masters, go to something stable, what are you doing? But I think that their sort of apprehensions also stem from the fact that recently, like since all the GST demonetization, businesses have not been doing very great. And when you get a good education, like some people from my family, like 2-3 of them who've got decent education, they've done really well in their life and they're earning a stable income. So they always feel the grass is on the other side. And my parents sort of feel that as a I have the potential to study. I got into good universities. I could take that path, which would relatively be more stable for me. And as parents, they want stability for me. They want me to have a good life, a relatively less stress life. Not that jobs don't have stress, but they've not seen that side. So they think it's less stress than business. So yeah. So my parents, even when they see the money, they're like, good, but go to your masters.
Typical. No, I don't blame them. I can see where they're coming from. And for them, this must be so crazy, especially when you said your family is into real estate, which is as physical as anything can get.
No, they're not into real estate. They're into
they're not.
Clothes, textile.
Sorry. So your grandfather was?
No. They
was
just
he in real
invest in
estate?
real estate. Like whatever they save, they invest.
I am so sorry about that. So that was my misunderstanding. So this is textiles, which is again a very physical manufacturing setups and factories and workers, and everything is physical in nature. Everything is with your own hands. And now suddenly this young girl with a phone in her hand trying to reach out to millions and getting paid for doing something like that. It's very, very hard for someone to comprehend all of that and make sense. So they would want something that is concrete, which is education in their head. I so get it. Where are you right now in your head? Now that you've experienced this side, done wonderfully well for yourself, you can continue riding this for as much as you want. How are you thinking about the next steps as you think about yourself?
So see, I think as creators, we would agree that our shelf life is very short. So one reason of moving to Bangalore is also to diversify my income streams and make them less and less dependent on my Instagram, which is my main source of income at the moment, and generate more revenue streams and income streams for me so that I can elongate my journey as a creator and do it more like a service, or get into a service business rather than someone who's a content creator only, because a business will outlast my limelight in social media. Yeah. So that is something that I'm trying to do currently. If I succeed, well and good. If not, I can always go do my master's.
I do have a strong feeling that you have a lot to share, and your experiences will certainly be helpful for a lot of people who are trying to replicate what you have done, not just at the surface of influencers who are getting started, but even brands for that matter.
Community building, growing your social media presence. We've been doing that day in, day out. We breathe algorithms, we breathe content. No one knows this better than us because we've churned out 500 videos, more than that. Who has that experience today?
Exactly. No, that's so true. I'm sure this is incredibly valuable. So I feel that it's a very fair shot for you to take, and I'm certain you will enjoy success from this. If the masters happens, that's true. Why not? Who manages your money now?
I
all that you get.
You do it yourself?
I have my background is in money management only. I worked with PPFAs. Before that, also I worked with a family fund office. So I've seen how money is managed at an individual level, at a fund level. So I do have a decent sense of portfolio allocation and where to invest. I don't tend to. I tend to make smarter decisions in a way that my investments are automated more than me aggressively investing day in, day out, or being actively investing. So everything, all my investments are automated. There are mutual funds, there are other funds, other avenues that I have identified. Asset allocation that I chose for myself based on my risk appetite and where I want my money to be. And yeah, accordingly, I invest.
Interesting. Very smart. Which category of asset class would be your biggest investment right now?
So definitely equity, even otherwise it's equity. But I think equity is alarmingly high right now because of the dip. So I have shifted a lot of my allocation there. Also because I'm young, I have the bandwidth with me to ride or stay invested at least for the next 10, 15, even 20 years. So yeah, now equity is alarmingly high.
That's awesome. Very smart. I love that. And what's been one meaningfully expensive but meaningfully important as well purchase you've made through your money so far?
I would say the recurring expense, which is my rent. So first time I'm paying so much rent.
That's
Even
awesome.
when I was working, I was sharing a room. So I was paying like the rent of half a room. Now I'm paying for 2 rooms. So that's a lot.
Do you have a team?
I would honestly say that I saw in your team, you shared those Excel sheets where all your timelines were defined and deliverables were there. I actually thought I had no experience in team building, and this is the first time I've been doing it. So I was trying to automate it, systemize it for the last 7-8 months. And today I can say that, yeah, Instagram is systemized and organized, and taken a lot of inspiration from you and how you do things. Like I also have an Excel for my team. That all came from your Excel idea. Yeah, today I also feel so much more responsible because I pay people's salaries. So yeah,
exactly. This is like the seed of what would be eventually an enterprise at some point. So I'm and it's a very, very exciting phase. This is also where most mistakes happen, Anushka, but that's also where we learn the most. And you will always look back at this period with absolute pride. And I'm certain about that. Brilliant. We're nearing the end of the conversation, and I want to have 2 last questions come in. One is, when you think of where you are right now, if you were to hazard a guess, and it's completely okay if you haven't thought about it and you don't want to, where do you think you will be at the end of 2030? So 8 years from now. What do you think you would be doing?
I would definitely somewhere be in the content space, especially with fintech content, because that's where I think I've found at least my short to medium term calling. So that's definitely there. I would like to scale this into more avenues. Like probably, I don't know, it's a dream for me to write an OTT on fintech, on finance. So probably would be writing 1-2 hour longs, like explained as a series on Netflix, something like that. So all these things. I would also want to be married by then. So yeah, 7 years. I think that should be a good age. Yeah, and I never want to stop working, or I don't think I want to retire anytime soon. I love, because of my background, I like businesses, and I think I have been very lucky with 2020 and being invested that time. And even now, even with the crash, I think I should be okay, say for the next couple of years.
Fantastic. Absolutely will happen. I love that. Last section, rapid fire, 5 questions, whatever comes to your mind, we'll take it as it goes. Number 1, pick between money and power.
Money.
Okay. Any reason why?
With power comes responsibility, and I feel with money you still have room to make mistakes and grow as a person and do things again.
That's true. Absolutely. If I had two choices in front of you, choice number one is, Anushka, you could get 50 crores today in cash, do whatever you want to, no compulsions. Or I will take you back to when you were 20, knowing everything that you know today. What would you pick?
I would take the cash because like 20 is like 4 years. I still have a lot of time and run ahead of me.
Okay, fair enough. What do you think will be the most expensive purchase you'll ever make in your life?
If and when I have the heart, I'll give it to my mother and ask her to do it for me. I don't have the heart to make expensive purchases at all.
All right, last question. Would you prefer being known as the Instagram girl or the finance girl?
Finance girl.
And would you rather be known as the finance girl or the content girl?
Finance girl. More avenues to scale.
I like that. I like that. Awesome. On that note, thank you so much, Anushka. This was really nice. I got to learn a lot about your life and your journey. It's been incredible, fascinating, and it's wonderful how serendipitously you end up being here and have done so wonderfully for yourself. And God bless you, and may you continue to grow and teach others how to grow.
Thanks a lot, Ankur. And you're doing some great work out there. Everyone should learn from you at least how to build a personal brand, how to manage a team so seamlessly. I commend all the effort that you put in, and I know it's all your experience of so many years that has got you to do the things that you've been doing. But since I've been trying to at some level do what you've done, I know it's incredibly difficult. So yeah, I am an absolute fan.
Thank you. Thank you for acknowledging. Thank you for the kind words. I wish you the same and all the best again.
Thanks a lot, Ankur.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Talk to you soon.
YouTube Shorts के लिए एक डेडिकेटेड चैनल लॉन्च किया गया है जिसपे आप सिर्फ वो 60 सेकंड के शॉर्ट्स देख सकते हैं. नो लॉन्ग फॉर्मेट कंटेंट टू कंफ्यूज यू एंड होपफुली those 60 seconds will help you just as much as these long format videos do. सब्सक्राइब करिए. पिन कमेंट और डिस्क्रिप्शन में लिंक है to the Warikoo Shorts channel.